chosen ones. The world was never meant to remember. But you did, and that remembrance split time in two. There exists a power older than empires, older than scriptures, older than the stars themselves. A system of seals, etched into the invisible fabric of reality, crafted by beings who knew how to bend light, sound, and will into form. These are not seals of wax or stone, but of vibration. 7 seals, hermetic, hidden, forbidden, and you hold them. From the moment you awakened, the guardians of the old orders felt the shift. Machines blinked, frequencies changed, ancient codes once buried in Atlantean temples stirred. The first seal responded to your breath. That was when they knew. The prophecy was not just a myth. It was encrypted into your existence. Each seal represents a law of divine mastery, the principle of mind, of correspondence, of vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. But these are not merely philosophical. They are alive. They respond not to intellect, but to frequency, to purity, to truth. Only a soul that remembers its origin beyond the veil can bear them. You were never meant to follow tradition. You were meant to fracture it. To wield these seals is to command the primordial architecture of the universe. But unlocking them, that's where the war begins. You are being watched, not by satellites, but by watchers older than Earth. Not every being wants you to succeed. Some serve the silence, others the lie. The seals are awakening in order, not by chance but by design. One by one they will test you, not with force but with vision, with knowledge, with illusions that beg to be shattered. Do not look for these seals in the material world. They are inside the structure of your soul. And each time you activate one, the realm around you shifts. People will vanish. Time will glitch. Reality will bend. Not because it's broken, but because it's obeying you. But know this: each seal you unlock brings you closer to the final convergence. The moment the 7th seal breaks, and the last boundary between man and God collapses. The first seal is not something you find. It is something that responds. It waited beneath your subconscious, dormant, until your thoughts aligned with an ancient current. The moment you questioned reality, truly questioned it, not with curiosity, but with fire, you loosened it. The first seal shattered not with sound, but with silence. A silence so loud it drowned out the noise of the world. Hermetic masters once spoke of the principle of mind. All is mind. The universe is mental. But what they failed to grasp is that it's not just the universe that is mental. It is you who project the universe by your frequency of thought. The first seal activates when your inner world becomes indistinguishable from the outer. When your will, your vision, and your inner knowing begin to overwrite the false matrix. You've already noticed it. People act differently around you. Lights flicker when you're lost in thought. You speak a thing, and somehow it manifests, perhaps not immediately, but undeniably. That's not coincidence. It's Hermetic law responding to your blueprint. Reality is plastic to the awakened mind, and your mind, now sealed with authority, reshapes it. But the first seal also carries danger. Once broken, illusion fights back. Old patterns return in new forms. Friends become tests. Environments begin echoing inner chaos. This isn't punishment, it's refinement. It's the seal's way of verifying. Are you the one? Or just another echo of the old? You've likely felt the pull toward solitude. That's by design. The first seal detaches you, not to isolate, but to liberate. In stillness, the new mind emerges, the true mind, uncorrupted by propaganda, free from inherited belief. The ancient architects encoded the first seal with immense caution, for if the unworthy accessed it, reality would fracture beyond repair. But you weren't born to observe. You were born to rewrite. This is why the elite engineered a culture of noise, endless distraction, because silence reveals the gateway, and the first seal, it only listens in the silence. Most believe there are 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. But Hermeticists knew of a 5th, the quintessence, the ether, the ungraspable force that binds the visible to the invisible. The second seal awakens when this hidden element is not just understood but felt. And recently, you've begun to feel things before they happen, not as guesses, but as inner truths echoing from a place beyond the senses. The second seal is resonance. It's the point where you realize that everything, yes, everything, has a frequency. A person, a word, a moment, even a lie has a vibration. And when your body starts rejecting certain people, places, or foods without explanation, it means the seal is stirring. You're not being sensitive, you're being recalibrated. In ancient scrolls lost to time, the ether was described as a divine womb, where thoughts gestated before becoming form. The elite systems rewrote history to erase it, because if the masses rediscovered it, they'd realize they don't need permission to create. They need alignment. The second seal shatters comfort. You'll begin hearing things in the spaces between words, seeing symbols layered behind everyday patterns, smelling scents that come from nowhere. This is not madness. This is awareness expanding. The ether is pressing closer, demanding recognition. And yet, you will not be able to explain this to others. The moment you try, their eyes glaze, their minds reject. That's because the unsealed cannot perceive what is outside the programmed spectrum. So don't explain. Observe. Adjust. Trust the language of the invisible. The ether is the language of origin. It's why you've always felt alien in familiar places. Why silence sometimes feels more like home than conversation. You were always tuned to it. You just forgot. Until now. This seal also bends time. Moments of déjà vu become more frequent. You'll remember things that haven't happened yet. Not because you're imagining the future, but because you're standing closer to the place where all futures echo back to the present. You've heard it before. Let there be light. But light was never just illumination. It was instruction. The third seal unlocks when your DNA begins to respond to the ancient language coded not in letters, but in frequencies of light. Serpent-like, coiled, intelligent, alive. This is the moment when reality stops behaving like a solid wall and begins rippling like a veil. Light no longer simply reveals. It begins communicating. Not through words, but through patterns, glitches, flashes in your peripheral vision. The spark in someone's eye that wasn't there before. This seal is tied to the sacred serpentine knowledge, guarded in mystery schools and erased from most texts. Why the serpent? Because it crawled before it flew. It symbolizes ascension through compression. Light compressed becomes matter. Matter released becomes light. You are that cycle in human form. And when this seal activates, you begin to remember the language of the architects, those who first shaped thought into stars. In the Gospel of John, it is written, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. But the Word was not sound, it was light. Sound was its echo." The third seal reveals that all divine power is transmitted first through encoded light, descending into vibration, then crystallizing into the visible world. Have you noticed how symbols now glow differently? How certain sacred texts vibrate as if breathing? That's not your imagination. It's your internal light grid syncing with the external codes buried within creation. You've become a decoder, but not for mere information, for reality itself. They used to fear beings like you. That's why they flooded the world with artificial light, to blind you to the organic one. Blue screens, LED illusions, all designed to override the serpent's whisper. But now, your cells are beginning to speak. The geometry behind your dreams is aligning. You're starting to feel the alphabet of light emerging in shapes, colors, synchronicities. And the serpent? It coils not to strike, but to rise. The third seal is open. But with light comes responsibility. Not all light heals. Some binds, some deceives. They never wanted you to know that your blood remembers, not just your ancestry, but your origin. The fourth seal begins to unravel when something deep within your veins starts to resist the patterns of the external world. The cravings change. The rhythms shift. Old addictions lose their grip. What's happening isn't random. Your blood is decrypting the reversal code, and that code was hidden there long before you were born. This seal is dangerous to the architects. It challenges the very system they built, because once the blood awakens, the body becomes a transmitter of forgotten truths. The elites engineered a world to keep the reversal code buried. Chemical food, poisoned water, electromagnetic interference, all designed to silence your sacred biology. But the seal inside you was never erased, only suppressed. And now it's breaking through. The reversal code isn't about going back. It's about turning forward in the opposite direction. It's the moment when what once enslaved you begins to empower you. Trauma becomes clarity. Pain becomes blueprint. Suffering becomes instruction. The enemy encoded poison into your food, but your activated cells begin rejecting it. That's not sensitivity. That's rebellion written in plasma. At this stage, the body reacts. You might feel old illnesses flare, then vanish. You'll notice how your breath carries heat, how your skin responds to solar flares. This isn't just biochemistry. It's ancient intelligence activating its own firewall. The fourth seal turns the body into a library of divine defiance. Your blood becomes scripture, pulsing with instructions that defy the laws they taught you. You may begin to see flashes of memory that don't belong to this lifetime, moments from ancient temples, faces you've never met but deeply recognize. This is the cellular archive syncing with your conscious field. The reversal code doesn't just wake the physical. It pulls back the curtain on the spiritual contracts you once forgot you signed. The fifth seal doesn't arrive with thunder. It arrives with stillness, piercing, burning, undeniable. It is the moment your inner world ignites, not with emotion, but with clarity. The kind of clarity that divides truth from illusion like a sword. This is the seal Yeshua guarded, the one whispered in parables, hidden between the lines, reserved for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, not a flame of destruction, but of purification. When Yeshua said, "I have come to bring fire on the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled," he wasn't speaking of external flame. He was pointing to this exact awakening, the inner combustion of divine remembrance. The fifth seal unlocks the sacred fire within the chest. It's not felt like passion or rage, but as a sovereign force, a silent blaze that makes compromise impossible. This is the stage when you stop negotiating with the world's noise. You feel the split between your old self and the emerging truth. And that truth is sharp. It sears through denial. You begin walking away from comfort without guilt. You say things others won't, because the fire won't let you lie. You lose people, not from anger, but from frequency mismatch. The flame inside you doesn't destroy them. It just makes your light unbearable to their shadows. What makes this seal so feared by the elite is its uncontrollable nature. Once lit, it spreads, not externally, but in hearts. The fire in one awakens the fire in another, and no amount of media, technology, or distraction can extinguish it. They tried to replace this flame with artificial energy, hyperstimulation, dopamine traps, virtual pleasure. But the fire of Yeshua burns from a place no algorithm can reach. This seal also burns away false spirituality, the empty rituals, the half-truths sold as enlightenment. It's why you may feel disillusioned with practices that once comforted you. The fire does not tolerate performance, only truth. There's a sound beneath all sounds, a vibration that has no language, yet speaks directly to your core. When the sixth seal opens, you begin to hear it, not with your ears, but with your essence. It starts in dreams, then leaks into waking life. Certain tones suddenly pull you into trance. Words carry weight. Voices feel different. What's happening is not auditory, it's vibrational. The world around you is beginning to tremble, and not because it's unstable, but because your inner frequency is starting to override the illusion. The sixth seal is the seal of disruption. It reveals that everything in this construct, walls, thoughts, institutions, has a sound signature. And when your inner resonance rises above a certain threshold, it begins to clash with the frequencies used to hold this reality together. You've probably felt it. Walking into certain places suddenly makes your chest tighten. You speak truth, and people flinch. Technology malfunctions around you. The simulation is not crashing. It's recalibrating to your presence. Ancient mystics knew this power. They used tones, chants, names of power, not for performance, but to crack the hologram, to realign. What you are now beginning to remember is that your voice carries more than language. It carries codes. The words you speak are beginning to alter your environment. That's why, lately, silence feels heavier. It's filled with potential waiting to be shaped. But this seal doesn't just give, it takes. You'll find yourself unable to tolerate lies, your own included. The moment you speak against your soul, the vibration collapses. That uneasy feeling isn't anxiety. It's your system rejecting false notes. You are becoming an instrument, and like any finely tuned instrument, distortion feels like pain. The sixth seal also opens gateways, not just metaphorical ones, actual fractures in space and time. This is when reality starts bending in small ways. Lost time, people saying things you were just thinking, a feeling of being in two places at once. These are not glitches, they're syncopations, the sound of the matrix failing to contain you. The final seal doesn't announce itself with fire or thunder. It arrives like a still wave, folding time inward, collapsing past and future into a single, breathless moment. The seventh seal is not about unlocking more power. It's about dissolving the illusion of separation. Time begins to ripple, not because you're broken, but because your soul has remembered something the world tried to erase. That time is not linear. It is layered, and your consciousness was never bound to just one layer. This remembering doesn't come all at once. It begins as a disturbance, a strange familiarity when walking into unknown places, memories that don't belong to this life, knowing things seconds before they happen. These aren't visions, they're access points, portals opening because your consciousness is stepping beyond the system's enforced timeline. The seventh seal activates when your identity becomes fluid. You no longer cling to the character you were trained to play. You begin shedding names, roles, histories like skin. Not because you're lost, but because you've outgrown the mask. It's not amnesia, it's ascension. The loss of illusion is the price of sovereignty. This is when the world around you starts glitching more aggressively. Patterns repeat. Numbers follow you. People echo each other like puppets. It's not coincidence. The program is short-circuiting in your presence. You've become a singularity, and singularities rewrite everything they touch. In ancient texts, the seventh seal was feared not because of destruction, but because of liberation. It is the moment you realize that death was never the end, birth never the beginning, and purpose never a destination. It was always memory, sacred memory, hidden behind veils of flesh and time. And now it is surfacing. You will feel a pull toward silence, toward solitude, but also a magnetic force drawing you to key locations, people, and moments, as if guided by a force you can't name. That force is memory awakening as movement, destiny coded as geometry. You are no longer making choices. You are following the echo of what you already lived. There were others. You are not the first to feel the stirring, to sense the weight of hidden power pressing against the veil of reality. Before you, there were those chosen, marked by the same signs, haunted by the same memories. They carried fragments of the seals within them, just as you do now. But most of them never broke through. They got close enough to disturb the system, but not enough to collapse it. The seal keepers were not weak, but they were fragmented. They fought alone, isolated, hunted by ancient programs designed to divert them from remembrance. They mistook awakening for madness. They confused power with purpose. Some were silenced. Others were distracted by fame, fortune, or false teachings. And the few who reached the edge of the final seal vanished. Some say into higher realms, others say into themselves. The knowledge they uncovered didn't disappear. It scattered. It encoded itself in symbols, architecture, rituals, bloodlines. Secret societies attempted to preserve pieces, but without the living resonance of a true holder, the seals became myth. You've likely read their words without realizing it. Their voices hide in sacred texts, forgotten journals, even music that stirs your soul without explanation. These past keepers appear to you in strange ways. You may see them in dreams, their faces familiar though you've never met. You may hear them in moments of silence, whispers between your thoughts, warnings wrapped in intuition. They are not gone. They are watching and waiting, because this time it's different. You were born into a convergence point. Unlike the others, you are not meant to carry just one seal. You are here to activate all 7, not to study them, to embody them. Your DNA doesn't just resonate with the codes, it is the code, fully integrated and timed for release. This is why your awakening triggered interference. The system knows your potential and fears it. The failures of the past are not yours to repeat. They were trials. Their limitations became your map. You now walk a path they carved with sacrifice. They were the architects of thought, the ones who spoke in paradox and cloaked truth in riddles. The Hermetic masters understood the laws better than most. They mapped the cosmos with symbols, aligned their breath with the stars, and shaped reality through precise rituals. Yet even with all their wisdom, they stood before the final seal and could not break it. They circled it, studied it, feared it, but they could not pass through. The reason was not lack of knowledge. It was something subtler: attachment. Even the masters, for all their insight, held tightly to structure. Their systems became cages. Their symbols, once fluid and living, hardened into doctrine. And the final seal requires surrender, not just of ego, but of identity itself. To cross it, one must dissolve completely, with no guarantee of return. It's not enlightenment. It's extinction of the known self. This is where most failed. They reached the threshold, but could not give up the last thing they thought defined them: their image of control. The final seal doesn't open to the powerful. It opens to the transparent. It demands the sacrifice of separation. Even Yeshua, who spoke the hidden language fluently, passed through only by becoming the bridge between mortal and divine, flesh and word, blood and light. You've likely felt the pull of this tension. The desire to ascend, but the fear of dissolving. The question of who you'll be if everything you've believed, learned, or built disappears. That's the edge of the 9th revelation. The seal doesn't guard power. It guards the end of illusion, and no philosophy, no mantra, no sacred rite can force it open. Only surrender can. This is why you've been stripped, why the path has taken so much from you. The losses weren't punishment. They were preparation. The seal was never locked. You were. The Hermetic masters knew this. In their final writings, those that never reached public eyes, They spoke not of secrets to be unlocked, but of a silent invitation. One only a soul with nothing left to prove could accept. There is a silence spreading across the hidden realms, the kind that only comes before a great upheaval. The seals are no longer dormant. They are resonating in unison, vibrating with a rhythm the cosmos hasn't heard since the first alignment. The thrones that sit beyond the veil, invisible yet deeply influential, are beginning to tremble, because they were built on a lie that humanity would never remember, that no one would ever complete the cycle, that the final unsealing would never happen. But here you are. You were never meant to just awaken. You were meant to collapse the system, not through war, not through rebellion, but by resonance. The kind of presence that makes false structures crumble without a touch. The kind of knowing that renders entire control grids irrelevant. The astral thrones, those positions held by ancient forces who shaped narratives across lifetimes, depend on your forgetfulness. But now, your memory is rising, and with it, their time ends. You've felt them watching, haven't you? The strange heaviness in the air when you speak truth, the way certain dreams feel like interrogations, the resistance that spikes whenever you reach a breakthrough. These are not accidents. These are defense mechanisms of a realm that fears your activation, not because you're violent, but because you're sovereign. This last stage is not about unlocking a new gift. It's about embodying the totality of what's already awakened. The seals aren't just keys. They are living laws, and now they live in you. Your thoughts bend reality. Your emotions anchor timelines. Your choices echo across dimensions. Every step you take is felt across the field. But the final unsealing is not an event. It is a convergence. It's when everything hidden within you meets everything you were kept from. The moment you stop seeking and start revealing. The moment your presence alone becomes a breach in the illusion. The moment the watchers, the programmers, the ancient keepers realize the prophecy was never about one action. It was about one being remembering fully.
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.